Search has changed, and it's not a tweak, it's a shift. If you rely on organic SEO, Google Ads, or just organic search for people to find you, then the old playbook is done. In this episode, I'm going to share what the new playbook looks like. Welcome to the Business of Hearing podcast, the #1 marketing and practice growth podcast for high-performing private practice hearing care leaders. My name's Ollie Luke. Pull up a chair, pour yourself a drink, and let's have a chat. All right, so welcome along to another episode of the Business of Hearing podcast, and one that I think holds a lot of significance because we're talking about some recent news that has changed the game. And I think there's always periods of time, right, where something happens and the world changes. That's when the car came along and replaced the horses. It's where the Industrial Revolution came to an end. There's these big monumental periods in history that following, it's difficult to even comprehend how previous generations got away with the types of things that they used to do. And that's happening right now with the change that Google have introduced. And I'm very, very conscious with these episodes that I can sound like I'm over dramatizing some of these things. And I'm going to be quite dramatic here, but I think it's relevant to exactly what's going on. It's not over dramatized. It's not under dramatized. I'm going to meet it at the level of weight that I'm giving this, we're giving this, and the impact this is going to have on the world. So let's first start by sharing what happened. So going back to November 2024 is ChatGPT search was launched. What that did was change the very fabrics of how people use the internet, and not on a mass market way, but previously, if you wanted to use the internet to find information, you typically went to Google. In fact, the large majority, 95% plus, went to Google. You search something you're looking for, a set of keywords. I'm looking to buy a red dress. I'm looking for an Italian restaurant this evening. I'm looking for hearing tests near me. And Google would then go, okay, based on where they're based on that search, here are the 10 blue links for you to decide between. Here's what's number 1, here's what's number 2, and we'll litter it with ads. And that was traditional SEO. Now, when ChatGPT rocked up, it very much changed the game, and it was a small little snippet of people who were using this rather than Google. And you now ask it a question, it gives you answers rather than links. It's almost like having a conversation with a know-it-all friend who goes, okay, based on that, here's what you need to be thinking about. Here's a recommendation. It's changed the game, and we've seen ChatGPT search get market share, more and more market share. And right now, if you look at the stats, it's still like tiny. But if you go into any room and ask people, put your hand in the air if you use ChatGPT search, I've yet to see a room where half the hands in the air don't go up. And I'm not in an echo chamber of people who are similarly technical. I was at an event recently in Canada where there was a massive, vast array of people in the room. There was nearly 500 people. There was 25-year-olds and 75-year-old people in that room. The only thing they had in common was they ran a hearing care practice. Ask how many use ChatGPT on a day-to-day basis to make research. Half the hands in the air went up. I think the numbers that are being played, especially from the narrative given by Google to protect probably their stock price, is vastly incorrect. But that happened last year, and it was a similar time that Google introduced their AI overviews, which essentially meant if you go searching online right now with a question, rather than just being met by those 10 blue links to decide between, there's a synthesized answer that appears at the top with AI overview written on it, where Google have gone to research that question on your behalf, use the multiple sources that exist on the web, provide you an answer, and then subtly list the sources that they've pulled that information from. Happens in milliseconds, and it delivers in many ways a nice user experience, although it has its challenges in the past of pulling really weird information, like recommending people eat glue on pizzas. So it's very much changed the dynamics. However, very recently, May 20th, 2025, Google had a big conference and they announced something called AI mode, something we've been monitoring for a long time because they've been testing it through their Google apps for a select group of users. But they've now rolled this out at scale. They've rolled it out to everybody, every browser, everybody that uses Google in the US. And this changes the game because what's essentially happened is if you go to Google now, you get two options. You can either use traditional search the way you've always done, and it still has AI overviews in it and many other things that have been hammering search traffic and clicks for a long period of time. But now there's an alternative, AI mode. And essentially, this is not a search engine. This is not you search something and it gives you a engine of listings. This is an answer engine. And it's very similar to ChatGPT. You ask it a question, it will provide an answer for you. And that question could be around, what does this mean from a hearing challenge? Why am I ears ringing? It's going to give you an answer. And then at the point you ask for a recommendation, it's going to give you a recommendation. So if you ask the questions and then you're like, okay, I need to see someone about tinnitus, who should I visit? It will provide the answer. The very unique thing about Google, which changes the game very, very dramatically, is they build a knowledge based on you as the searcher, based on all the other Google products that you use. So they'll be able to access information in your calendar. Like, do you love going for beauty appointments? Because if you do, they probably can build a character on your preferences. And as a result, if you're looking for something, if you're looking for dental services, they're probably more likely to refer you to some form of cosmetic dentistry than anything else if it's quite a broad search. If they know that you don't like mushrooms, then if you're asking for a recipe recommendation or a restaurant recommendation, they're probably going to recommend restaurants or dishes that don't have mushrooms in them. Like, so every person who's using AI search and Google's AI mode is going to get a different set of answers, even if they ask the same thing. If 5 different people using it say, I need hearing aids near me, each one will be given a different recommendation, rather than traditional Google search where it was very rigid in terms of their number 1, their number 2, their number 3, based on traditional SEO rules. And this means the game's changed. And I don't mean like subtly changed. I mean, it's, excuse my French, it's fucking changed. It's really, really dramatic in terms of the shift that's occurred, because everything that traditionally was focused on from an SEO perspective, poof, it's changed. And I want to get into the details and the specifics around much of this in terms of what you should be doing from a winning online in this future online world. But I really want to be very, very clear on the weight of this. This isn't just, there's a slight change, make this adjustment. This is, imagine you're on a playing field playing one game and then all of a sudden you blink and then you're in the middle of another game. Like, this is a big, big shift, and it's happening very, very quickly. Now, we as hearing care practices always feel we're a little shielded, right? We're not trying to reach a 24-year-old who's always at the cutting edge of technology and wants to be using the newest platform. We're reaching more of a matured user who's been using the internet for a longer period of time and typically will not be as focused on using these AI tools than traditional search. But this isn't a choice. No Google user in the US right now is being given this as an option to use. It's being forced upon them. So this is going to happen, and it does in many ways deliver a dramatically better product. There is another few caveats right now which just come out that Google are going to start building ads into their AI search as well. So it's going to be a very, very funky time of unpredictability and vast amount of change, consumer expectations, but most of all, as a small independent business, how we win in these battles. So let's get really clear on what this means for private practice, because traditionally we wanted to win in those blue links, right? People made a search. The big goal was get me number 1 for the term hearing aids on Google, get me number 1 for audiology, get me number 1 for hearing tests near me. But if people are not searching through that route and instead they're going in an alternative direction where they're looking for education first through an AI model and then making a recommendation, then the entire game changes dramatically. And it means historically the goal of keywords, the goal of write blog posts to answer the questions that people are Googling local to you, to be the local thought leader and win the traffic to your website, like the old recipe card of how you win online, it's changed. So what is the things that you should be doing in today's market right now, given where it's going, in order to win through this new lens of AI search? And I've got a few notes here that I want to run you through, because there's 3 fundamental new rules that I've noted here. The first one is trust over keywords. So historically, the game was, how do we get the right keywords into the website to give the evidence to Google that if people are looking for things like that, we're logically a good solution for them. The way that AI works, the way it will read your website, is the games of trying to manipulate the system by just saying hearing aid 40 times in one paragraph has lost a lot of value. What they want to see is, are you a trusted source. Trust has never been more important in marketing. And collectively, within the inner circle, we've been studying a book by David Horsager called Trust Matters more than ever. A great book, great read. And the timing of that book is so scary with everything that's gone on. But with trust being at an all-time low, and a big report that was done a couple of decades ago now shared that I think it was 71% of people don't trust what businesses say. Like, trust is at an all-time low. AI is going to naturally impact that even more and more with people not trusting what they see. You being trusted is so key. And how do you become trusted? You have specificity on who you are. You articulate everything that's unique about you very cleanly, and you prove it with big cases of evidence. So lean into trust. If you had to look at your own brand and go, is this trusted? What is everything you can do to prove this vast amounts of trust? Super key. The second one is you need to be fresh, not optimized. What do I mean by that? Well, traditionally, optimize was, let's look at all the keywords people are searching and let's write pieces of content on our website in order to answer those questions. If people are searching different types of hearing loss, if people are saying, what's ringing in my ears? It was like, okay, let's write a blog post about it, answering that question. Let's try and pack it with keywords to get people to the website. That was the old recipe card. But what we're seeing with Fresh is like its relevance is so key. Like, just writing to answer questions isn't there. Writing to answer the difficult questions that most people aren't willing to answer, or the ones that require high levels of human emotional intelligence to answer with depth and empathy, is super key. Traditional blog strategy is gone. Like, answering questions, unless you just want to feed the AI and never get any reward for that, don't do it. Instead, focus on answering the questions, writing content that most people aren't willing to write. Pricing answers. How much are things? How long do things last? What are the different types of hearing loss? Are you just a middleman as a hearing care provider between technology and the patient? Like, the difficult questions that you should hope never to answer them proudly. Like, that's the stuff that's going to stand out more and more. The third thing I've got here is structured over pretty. Because technically, what your website needs to be structured like today to win in AI search is different to how it had to be structured to win in traditional search. Because traditional search was like what you had to put in the back end of the website from a technical perspective. It was relatively straightforward. Like, schemas are so important now that, like, there's so many different things that need to be built so AI knows how to read your website, the speed of the website so it can interact, pull information. It needs to pull information in a different way than traditional Google search did for ease of information. Like, so if your website is not built for kind of today's world, and I mean today's world being like latter end of 2025 world, then you're going to be on the downside of all this change, which isn't good. And let me get into the real clear playbooks here, really, because I think there's three things that I'd be focusing on. Number one is reputation, and this ties towards trust, is you need vast amount of evidence. And I talk about this often, and let me get really tactical. Patient stories. You need to have case studies of the outcomes that you've achieved for patients flowing throughout your website. Because if you look at what AI is looking for, is it's not looking for you to say, I do hearing tests. It's looking for a story of somebody who had a hearing test and achieved the outcome that will meet the user who's using these AI tools. They're always looking for stories, case studies, if you can capture them. And this methodology of how you can do so will ensure that you have a vast amount of a quantity of quality case studies that touch upon the many challenges, pain points, objections, services that people need help with. That'd be a big one. And the second part of that is Google reviews as well. Google reviews still have a place, will have a place for a very long time. It's a great way for Google to judge how trusted you are. But here's the thing on it. Bland 5-star reviews with no commentary are not as valuable as they used to be. So if you've got 100 5-star reviews and only 20 of them actually saying anything in them because you've used a plug-in review collection tool where you just want the patient to press 5 stars that gives you quantity over quality of reviews, that's going to lose value more and more. It's got a metric, it's got a game, it can play, it can benefit, but it's not as valuable as quality over quantity for reviews. Reviews that have story and depth tied into them. And there's a great way you can do this when you're asking for a review. Just pivot who you're asking for. And what I mean by that is if you sit face to face with a patient and you say, hey, can you leave us a review? What's the ask there? You're asking the patient to review you. Now, firstly, that's awkward for your team to do because it feels very personal. It's like kissing someone and instantly asking them, was it good? It's a really weird situation to be in as the person asking for instant gratification about you personally. And for the patient, it feels a little weird, right? Unless you've delivered something amazing, for them to go and review you, what they're going to write, Dr. Smith was awesome, highly recommend. The narrative isn't right, just a flip of the scripts. And if you can share to the patient that, hey, one of the challenges we have is many people never know who to choose or who to visit for their hearing healthcare needs. And many of them look at reviews as a way to decide who to choose. Would you be able to just leave a review to share your experience and help guide people who's been in similar shoes to you to come and visit us? Then patient now understands that, okay, who am I writing to? Other people that are considering choosing you. It means they've got more depth. It means they know who they're writing to. It means they'll write something that says, I was unsure where to go. I decided to visit ABC Hearing. I love this. I love this. If you're unsure where to go, highly recommend. That holds so much more depth. And that is what the AI is looking for. The second one is personal brand. Now, this is a big old juicy topic, but I think what we're going to see more and more of is traditionally people found you via Google. People now need to find you in alternative routes and then further research you on Google. So let me explain this a little clearer and try to articulate this as cleanly as possible. The big way that many of us have played is someone searches for hearing care providers locally on Google. They find you, then you build your relationship through them, with them through the websites. With AI search making less recommendations for people to go and look at multiple providers, instead make a specified one, the more we can introduce ourselves to the patient top of the funnel, the more we're likely to get them at the bottom of the funnel, especially in that AI search when they know who we are already. We're so many steps ahead then. So what's the role of YouTube? What's the role of community plays? What's the role of being known in your community away from the internet for being everything hearing health, hearing care, hearing aids, hearing loss? That's what I'd be getting consideration towards. How do you grow your personal brand locally? So if people are thinking about hearing, rather than going to AI search and then going, who do I visit hearing wise? They're almost further down the tracks that you're the people for them. And any search they're doing is more around you rather than around the topic that you offer support around. So that'd be a key one. And then a third one is authority. And what do I mean by this? This is answering the difficult questions that most people aren't willing to answer. Talk about insurance, talk about third party, talk about pricing, talk about the things through your website that build vast amounts of trust, that you're not like everyone else and you meet the patient where they're at. But if you get those three things correct, if you have very, very clear personal brand for your website, if your reputation engine is very solid, you've got specificity on who you're writing to, and you answer the difficult questions that most people aren't willing to answer, and of course, the website's built from a technical perspective for where the internet's going and what AI needs to read in comparison to what traditional search needed to read, then you're going to be in a good position. Because as I see it, we're at this crossroads and it's going to swing very heavily in one direction. It's a crossroads and one road's going to continue forever and one road's going to come to an abrupt end. And if you're on the wrong path, it's going to be really, really painful and difficult to reverse and get back on the right path. The quicker you can get all this in place, the quicker that you'll be in a position where everyone else has gone down the wrong path and you're on the right path, and you are naturally the beneficiary of all the extra opportunities that are available for you. So I'd be playing that game very, very carefully. But I do want to say, this is not there's a tweak to the system. This is the new system. This is the new playbook. The old playbook served us for many years. Traditional SEO, we've all heard about it, we've all talked about it, we've all done it, we've all spent money on it. And of course, the money that you've spent, if you've spent it correctly and wisely with SEO companies that do the right foundations rather than try and manipulate the system, then it will benefit you in this new economy because you've built much of this evidence that is still important. But continuing to do the same thing that you've always done and hoping for different results would be silly. The game's changed. You need to change with the game. As always, if you need help with this, if you want to work with a partner who's ahead of this curve and very much obsessed on winning in the future, not just doing the thing and the playbook that worked in the past because it's easy, but do the right things rather than the easy things, then we're always looking for great practices to work with. So yeah, give me a shout, drop me a message, drop me an email, however you can reach me. Details are below this video. And yeah, it would be a joy to have a chat and see if we can potentially help. But please, please, please pay special attention to this. If you're unsure about this, go and ask your marketing company about it. If they've not already told you about it, that's a big, big red flag. And it's usually the companies that want to protect their existing business that would rather you didn't know about this stuff. So please ask those difficult questions, because anybody that's saying this isn't impacting the game is, I think, has an agenda behind that intent behind that answer. But I hope that's been helpful. Hopefully I've not ruined your day too much with the bad news, but I'm meeting this with the weight of intention and importance that it has. I'm not downplaying this. I'm not overplaying this. I'm playing it exactly where it is. And the playing field's changed. And you need to change with it. You need to quickly adapt. If you were once playing football and now all of a sudden you blink your eyes and you're playing soccer, then quickly you're going to have to adapt and change the rules very, very quickly and the way you're playing. So please give this grave importance. And then when you've made these changes and you're benefiting, I'd love to hear all about it. But appreciate your time, and I'll speak to you again next week with another episode.
And there we have it. Another episode has come to an end, and I have a quick favour to ask. If you have found this helpful, then who do you know who should listen to this podcast? I strongly believe a rising tide lifts all boats, and right now, private practice needs to stick together to fight these big, gormless groups and these manufacturer-owned Goliaths that are looking to take market share from us. Consider who should be listening, pass on the word about the Business of Hearing podcast, and I'll see you again next week.